Um, when you were on your back, remember your pelvis had to be level, the ASIS bones and the pubic bone were horizontal to earth. And then you had the curve of the spine on your back. Okay, so with this series, we begin in a seated posture. Okay, so you're going to be seated in natural seat. It's going to be similar. You still want to have your ASIS bone and the pubic bone in the same vertical plane. That will make so the sit bones, the ischial tuberosities, reach straight down to earth. That's very important in the seated and standing postures to have that alignment of the pelvis. That's what will set it up so everything will work right with your spine. Okay. So as our physical body began inside the mother, and we had one primary curve, the fetal position, one primary curve, round. So that's why this one, the thoracic curve that rounds out to your mid back, it rounds out, it's a kyphosis. And then the sacrum also rounds out. This is the back of the spine, the back of the pelvis. So those both round like the primary curve, like the fetal curve. So they're called primary curves. Up here, this cervical curve starts to develop when you first start to lift your head as a baby. And that's when that curve starts to develop. And then that's a lordosis. It curves in. Okay. And then the person is looking that way over at the light. Okay. The lumbar curve curves in. It's a lordosis. It starts to develop when the baby starts to walk. And then it develops over several years until it's fully formed as a curve, as a wave. Okay. The primary curve, the thoracics and the sacrum, they were there first. The secondary curves, cervical and lumbar. That's natural alignment of the spine. It varies a little bit from person to person. Some people have almost a flat kyphosis. Some people have a bigger one. There's a normal range for each of these curves. It's not exactly the same. So I'm going to look at the front view of the spine. Okay. And you notice that those are the bodies of the vertebrae. And those are the discs between, the intervertebral discs that are sort of tan in color. The discs make it possible for the spine to move and to be like shock absorbers. Without those discs, it would all be one bone. There wouldn't be any movement possible. There'd be no Triyoga. Now, if you look at this from the side view again, the vertebral bodies here on the front. In the back, there's these things that stick out, the spinous processes. So I'm going to show you, let me just mention one other thing. The cervical curve, there's 7 cervical vertebrae in that lordosis, and they're called C1 for cervical 1. They start from the top and go down. C1, C2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the 7 cervical vertebrae, that's the neck. Then there's 12 thoracic vertebrae. They're the ones that have the rib cage, the ribs that come around. Quite a few of them come around to attach on the sternum, synovial joints. And that's why the rib cage can move. There's movement possible. So those are T1 to T12. And then the lumbar spine, there's 5 of them. So I'm going to start at the bottom just because it's easier. 5th lumbar, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. So that's L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, 5 lumbar. Those are all freely movable vertebrae. So when you're doing your spinal waves, like your cat rolls, you got to think of that. You got to remember that and bring it into each vertebra, because that's what's going to bring health, strength, and flexibility into your spine, and also bring nutrients and oxygen to your discs and all the structures around the spine. Okay, and then after the lumbar is the sacrum. Those are about 5, usually 5. It varies a tiny bit sometimes, but most of the time it's 5 fused vertebrae. And by the time you're in your 20s, they've fused into one bone, the sacrum. Okay. And then the little tiny coccyx. When you were about 10 weeks old, when the physical body was about 10 weeks old in the mother, so as an embryo, that was a long tail. And then it became a short, just a vestigial, it's called a vestigial organ, hardly anything left, 3 to 5 little tiny vertebrae. Okay. Okay, so that'll give you some background as we do the flows, just a little bit more knowledge. Now, if you were looking down at your spine from the top, like you're above yourself, you're standing above your head, looking down on your spine, you'd see this. So I'm going to show it first from the front. See, those are the vertebral bodies again with the discs. So you turn it this way. Now you're looking down at the spine from above your head. Okay, I just wanted to show you how protected the spinal cord is in there. See, this is the spinal cord. Let's see. There's plenty of room in there for it. It's all protected so nicely. And then these things that stick out, that's what you can feel. Like if you feel the back of your neck, those are the spinous processes of the vertebrae. And then see how sticking out on each side? These are really important, these pointed things that stick out on each side and that are on the back, because that's where all the muscles and ligaments attach. And then there's 2 more joints that move in the back. So these discs provide movement. See that, how it provides movement? And then there's 2 other synovial joints that provide movement in the back. Okay, so you probably can't see super well, but it does give you the idea of how amazing and miraculous this all is. So why don't you go ahead and come into natural seat, and we'll begin the series. So direct your sit bones straight down. Be aware of the line of the ASIS bones and the pubic bone, that they're in the same vertical plane. Sit bones, ischial tuberosity straight down. Lengthen up through the lumbar spine. It actually takes muscle strength to lengthen up. Through the thoracic spine, can you feel each vertebra? One of the ways you know if you're lengthening up is if you can feel that area. If you can't feel it, it's not lengthened. Now, when you get to your neck, many people put our heads forward or we have our chins up in the air. So I'm going to give you a few alignment cues that help you with the neck. Bring the neck back, the cervical spine back, so it's on top of the rest of the spine. And one way you can bring it back is think of your throat, not your chin, but your throat coming back. Move your throat back. And lift up through the top of the ears. And that should give you a good alignment for your neck. Shoulders down away from the ears. Hands, eyes in a mudra, inner eye mudra. Bhrumadhya mudra. Bringing the focus to natural breath. Expand the breath now to complete breath. Fill and empty the lungs, maximum comfortable capacity. Notice how the rib cage gets big, the thorax gets big. That allows air to come in. When it gets small, air goes out. Abdominal muscles pull in to release more air at the end of the exhale. Exhale completely. You can use victory breath. Tilt forward from the hips. That's flexion of the hips. Inhale, cat. Inner Om Mudra, Earth Mudra. Shoulders above wrists. This is a 90-degree angle at the wrist. So if it's too much, people put a pillow or some prop under the palm near the wrist. So it's a smaller angle. Continue cat rolls. Exhale, cat tuck from the base up, a wave of rounding. Neck is last, chin tucks. Inhale, back to cat through the lumbar spine. Sit bones reach straight back through the thoracic spine, lengthening, and through the cervical spine last. Continue cat rolls. So you're not rounding as much as you possibly can, but just vertebra by vertebra. Pause in cat. Next time you come into cat, pause. Notice the low back is in natural alignment. It's got its normal lordosis. The thoracics and cervical, the mid back and neck, are a little bit of a backward bend, like a Cobra 1. Inhale, cat. Exhale, child, asana. Hips to heels. Lengthen out over the thighs. And head lowers last. Here you have a gentle flexion in the spine. Natural seat. Exhale, round back. Inhale, lengthen up to natural seat. Be aware of your alignment in natural seat, pelvis, up through, lengthen up through front, back, and sides of the body, neck alignment. Inhale, prep, cat bow 1. Tilt forward, keep the alignment of your spine as it is. Don't change it. Hands toward each other, wrists parallel. Shoulders above wrists. So notice you have space between the hands and the fingers. Shoulders away from ears. That will make you stronger because it'll keep your scapula flat to your rib cage. The goal is to keep your scapula flat to the rib cage. That's the shoulder blades. On the exhale, just come down as far as you can to maintain your alignment as you go. The neck comes in the direction of ring and little finger, the space there. Inhale, return to the prep. Continue cat bows 1. If needed, you can do a cat roll in between. You can come down to a block. Be sure that your shoulders, elbows, and wrists go out to the side in a straight line. This will help protect your shoulders, elbows, and wrists. Next time you return to the prep, exhale, child, asana. Gentle flexion of the spine. Natural seat. Exhale, round back. So it's like the prep for it. Inhale, lengthen up. Lotus to Anjali Mudra, Padma to Anjali. Inhale, cat. Okay, so you're going to aim to keep your shoulder blades, like if this is your upper back, I'll just show you for a minute. If this is your upper back, you want to keep, this is going to represent your shoulder blades, your scapula. Your head is right here, your face down. and your shoulders, your scapula, you want to keep them flat to your rib cage. So when you're doing your bow, it's not going to wing up like this. It's going to stay snug to your rib cage. So that's why at first you might only come down an inch. And that's the position of strength. You know, if you let the shoulder blades just move around, you don't use the muscles that hold it firm, you won't develop the right kind of strength there. Okay. So as you're ready, inhale, cat. Exhale, cat bow 2. Now you're aiming the chest for between the hands, and you could use a block either under the abdominal area or under the sternum. Exhale to lower, elbows point straight back. Inhale to cat. Continue cat bows 2. When you've completed, rest in child. Relaxing completely in child. Notice the low back, the lumbar region expanding with the breath. Inhale, natural seat. Little flexion of the hips, tilting forward slightly. Inhale, cat. Exhale, basic slant. So in your series, it just says exhale, face down, but you pass through that posture called basic slant. So let's just come into basic slant. Move the hips forward. So you're in a slant and lengthen the back, and then forehead faces ground. So that's basic slant. It's a slant from the knees to the head. Then inhale back to cat. So you have your lumbar lordosis up through the thoracics and head slightly lifts. Exhale, basic slant. Forehead faces ground. Now, when you come to face down, this is a strengthening movement. You're going to keep your back exactly the same as it is. Nothing's going to change. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to bend the arms. So that takes strength to lower to face down. Inhale, prep for half locust, bringing the chin forward along the ground. That's extension of the cervical spine. If needed, you could have the forehead to ground if it was uncomfortable. On the exhale, continue to the prep. Arms draw alongside the body till they're lengthened out. Tilt the pelvis up in the air. Bring straight arms underneath. So you might be between the little points of the hips, the ASIS bones. If that's too much for your arms, if there's an injury or something, you could use a pillow instead. Keeping the hips grounded, the pelvis level. Right side, inhale, half locust. Extension of the hip, of the right hip. Exhale to lower. Left side, inhale, half locust, strengthening the gluteus maximus, largest muscle in the body, the buttock muscle. Exhale to lower the superficial buttock muscle, the one more on the surface. Continue alternating sides. Next time, left leg returns back to ground. Bring your forehead to ground. This brings your neck into natural alignment. So when you lift it slightly to turn the neck vertebra by vertebra, bringing the right ear to ground, pay attention that it's just lifted a little bit so it keeps its natural alignment while you rotate it. Right side, inhale, half locust, asana. Right leg lifts high. Long breath. Space between the toes. Next exhale, lower the right leg back to ground. So again, vertebra by vertebra, bring left ear to ground. Make sure you turn, when you turn the neck, be sure it's in natural alignment. That will be the healthiest for it. You can get that full rotation at the neck unless there's discomfort. Left side, inhale, half locust, asana, extension of the hip. When you've held it about the same length of time, exhale to lower. Lift hips slightly, release the arms to sides and rest. Face down, rest. Head remains left ear to ground to rest. Exhale, face down, forehead to ground, hands by the sides of the chest. Inhale, Cobra 1, just lifting as high as you can without using arm strength. Exhale to lower. Continue rounds of Cobra 1. This is strengthening all the muscles of the back. The legs are grounded, the feet and legs close together, touching or up to hip distance apart. Notice how the tailbone, the coccyx presses down to support. Next time you come into Cobra 1, asana. Now notice how your hands feel like they're pulling back. It's isometric. You're not moving them, but you're pulling back with them, using strength. Use that strength to lengthen your spine more. See if you can separate the vertebrae more by pulling the chest forward and up. When ready, exhale, face down 2. First face down, forehead to ground. Then the arms glide alongside the body, palms facing up in Om Mudra. Inhale, vertebra by vertebra, turning head to left, right ear to ground, and rest. So some people, just as you're resting, I'll mention something. Some people don't have very much flexibility in their spine. You know, maybe they have a condition with their spine, and so they may use a pillow or bolster under their hips to help them with a lift, especially when we get to Cobra 2. Okay, so as you're ready, exhale face down, bringing the forehead to ground, and hands come up alongside the chest, Earth Mudra. Inhale, Cobra Boat, chest and thighs lift. Exhale to lower, forehead and tops of feet to ground at the same moment. Continue rounds of Cobra Boat, your own pace. Inhale, Cobra Boat, exhale, face down. So this one is strengthening all your hip extensors. So you feel the gluteus maximus working, the posterior thigh muscles, and then all the extensors of your back. There's several layers of muscles that extend your back, bring them into a backward bend feeling. And see if you can feel the vertebra by that isometric, pulling your hands back without moving them to lengthen your chest forward and up. Create space between your vertebrae. Next time in Cobra Boat, asana. The breath flowing. Take your time. When ready, exhale, face down two. First face down, then the arms alongside the body. Inhale, turn head to right, left ear to ground, and rest. So as you're resting, I'll mention a few things. This next part 7 and 8 have a focus on Cobra 2 lift. And all these postures, it's the first time they're introduced. You know, for any new student that's learning basics, there's so many new postures in Basic Series 1 and now it's Basic Series 2. Everything's new. Very exciting. The cat rolls are new, cat bows are new, half locust, Cobra 1, Cobra Boat, and now Cobra 2 lift. Creating great strength and flexibility. First, the hips with Series 1, opening them, building strength and flexibility in that foundation of the body, the hips and pelvis, legs. And now that continues with all the strengthening of the spine. And again, the hips. So we're creating great strength and flexibility. Even people that have been doing Triyoga for years and years, we still work with these postures all the time. And they'll lead us to the other postures systematically. People will build the strength and flexibility. So when you're ready to go on to level 1, level 2, you'll be ready because you've built the strength and flexibility along the way. Exhale, face down, neck vertebra by vertebra in natural alignment, and then hands in position. Legs lengthened back, tops of feet firm to ground. Inhale, Cobra 1. Hold for the exhale, lengthening. Exhale, Cobra 2, lift. Come up slowly, even just a little bit. So sometimes people will just come up a little bit. Exhale, face down. We'll continue this Kriya. Inhale, Cobra 1. As you hold for the exhale, make sure you've created space between the vertebrae. And then inhale to Cobra 2, lift. Keeping the length coming up. Shoulders down, away from the ears. Up through the crown. Exhale, face down. A few more rounds, your own pace. Next time in Cobra 2, pause briefly. And again, notice how your hands have a feeling of pulling back and that your thoracic spine is pulling forward and up, like at the heart area, a feeling of pulling forward and up. You're creating space between the vertebrae. Keep the sit bones pressed down. You're also lengthening your low back in that way, out and away from the pelvis. When you've completed, exhale, face down 2. Forehead to ground, then hands come into position. Exhale, turn head to left, right ear to ground, and rest. Exhale, face down. Inhale, Cobra 2, lift. Come up slowly, create that length. And then on the exhale, lift hips, feel some strength in the abdominal area, lengthening your low back so it doesn't overarch, just your normal lordosis. All the way to child asana. Enjoying the rest in child. Inhale, natural seat. Gentle wave. So now we put all those parts together into one flow, one beautiful flow. As you're ready, inhale, cat. Exhale through basic slant. Lengthen the spine, forehead faces ground, to face down. Keep your alignment, just bend the arms, it's strengthening. Inhale, Cobra 2, lift. Pass through Cobra 1, continue to Cobra 2. Exhale, lengthen the lumbar spine to child. And we'll continue. Natural seat. Inhale, cat. Exhale, face down. Be sure you have your basic slant first. Inhale, Cobra 2. Cobra 2, lift. Exhale, child. Feel free to observe Dagmar or me, and continue your own pace. Natural seat. Exhale, or you can inhale to cat. Exhale, basic slant to face down. Inhale, Cobra 2, lift. Exhale, child. Continue or rest if needed. This round or next when you come to child asana. Enjoying the breath in child. Inhale, natural seat. So before we come to the closing postures of bridge, we'll spend quite a long time on bridge rolls. They're so wonderful. And then it has the hip side stretch that we also had in the basic series 1. So when we're working with the bridge rolls, be aware that each vertebra presses down before it lifts. there's quite a lot of strength applied. Like if this were the spine, this pillow, and you're rolling up vertebra by vertebra, it presses down before it lifts. And that creates, let me turn it toward, yeah. So it develops a lot of strength. Those muscles that I was talking about that connect one vertebra to the next, and all those muscles of the spine and of the back, creates a great deal of strength. If you roll up one vertebra at a time, you have to keep it down before it rolls up to get each vertebra. And then when you come back down, each vertebra presses down. The others stay lifted until the very end. So it develops an incredible amount of awareness because your mind and your awareness have to be so right there with your movement, deep within, like it is throughout, but somehow that even, that you're on your back and all relaxed, you can really focus. I'll point out a few other things when we get there. So from natural seat, exhale L seat. You can lift your hips a little bit from your heels and bring one hip to ground to the side, tilt that way, and bring the legs around as one to the front, L seat. And you can center yourself. So here you need everything all the way through Yoga Nidra. So you need your blocks for bridge. You might need a few small pillows for under your head. Some people like to try a tie around their thighs right above the knees if their knees tend to collapse open, but maybe another time. But just so you're aware of that. And then you might want to have a bolster if you have or a bigger pillow for Yoga Nidra. So as you're ready, inhale, prep to lower. Inhale, hip lift. Move hips forward or back, depending. If you need more room behind you, move your hips forward. If you need more room behind in front, move your feet first. Bring arms out in front, or they can be elbows or hands to ground behind if needed. Exhale, knees to chest. Pull forward with the knees and feet. Keep the feet to ground as long as you can. The toes to ground. Keep pulling forward with the knees to offset going down, so you go with control. Knees to chest. Rocking gently side to side.
Nandi, that's just me for a second. I have another idea how I maybe get the sound over the microphone here.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you, but now when we go reclined, I just wonder whether I can create
I'm speaking very loudly.
Yes, I hear you. You doing a really good job.
Can people hear?
Can you guys hear? Yes.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, it's different because it's more upright with this one.
Can you talk again?
I think for this part, I'll come closer to the computer.
Okay.
Right? Is that louder that way?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. So you're in knees to chest. Exhale, partial recline. Bring the toes slowly to ground, then the balls of the feet, then the heels. Feet are parallel, about hip distance apart. So be aware to keep your legs and feet lined up throughout. The heels are in pretty close to the sit bones if they can be. That's not too far out, and make sure they're not too wide. Be aware that your knees don't collapse in or out as you're doing these. We're going to start, this series starts with bridge roll 1, but we're going to go do one step in between. First, lift your hips a little bit from the ground, your pelvis, and lengthen. Reach your sit bones, reach your pelvis towards your heels, and then relax your back to ground. So you've just lengthened your back out. Make sure the weight's equal on both sides, like we did the other day. One way you can imagine it, like if you were lying in the sand right now, and you got up and looked at your imprint, would it be equal on both sides? That's what you're aiming for, best you can. Have your weight equal on both sides of your back and pelvis. So what we're going to do is inhale, just roll over the sacrum and feel your low back press into the earth. So your lower when you roll over the sacrum, the low back presses into the earth. And then roll back over the sacrum to come back into natural alignment with your lumbar spine, the lordosis. So, roll over the sacrum, low back presses to earth. When you roll back over the sacrum, feel the low back curve reappear from the base up. Now 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it becomes that refined. Roll over the sacrum, low back presses to earth. Roll back down over the sacrum, lumbar curve reappears from the base up. L5, L4, L3, L2, L1. So every bridge roll is going to begin and end with that. As you're ready, continue with bridge rolls 1. So you start the same way, but you just roll up through the lumbar spine. It's just coming up a little bit above the waist. That's the lumbar spine. The navel area is about 3rd lumbar. So you come up a little bit more. Continue bridge rolls 1. Anytime needed, feel free to come to knees to chest. Otherwise, we just continue. Continue now, bridge rolls 2. Or if needed, stay with bridge rolls 1. With bridge roll 2, you roll up, peeling each vertebra from the earth. It's like each one's stuck on the earth and you're peeling it up in a wave of movement till the knees and shoulders form a diagonal. That's the top of bridge 2. So it's the lumbar spine and part of the thoracic spine that rolls up and then roll back down, lengthening the coccyx, the tailbone, the sit bones in the direction of the heels. So you're lengthening your back as you round down so that you can round each one down to the earth. When ready, continue with bridge rolls 3. So if you have a pillow under your head, it will get in the way for the top of bridge rolls 3 because you're rolling up to the highest point that feels right for you. So when you're in partial recline, if you do have a pillow under your head, you can remove it. Once in a while, there'll be someone that uses even 3 pillows because they have a larger thoracic kyphosis. Then they might remove 2 of them. But most people will have no pillow for bridge rolls 3. Aim to peel each vertebra from the earth, a wave of lift, and roll each one down, a wave of lowering. When you feel ready, at the top of bridge 3, interlace the hands and tuck the shoulders under. And you could just hold. You can put something underneath the pelvis, the sacrum pelvis area. Some people will just use one small pillow or a bigger pillow. Some will use one block, position 1, the lowest. Some will use position 2, maybe 2 blocks together as one in the second position, the second height. And some will use 2 blocks together in the highest height. Some of that depends on proportions of the person. If it's a little person, they might have a very big backward bend, but still not use the blocks in the highest position. Somebody else with a very long torso might have a smaller backward bend and they might use the blocks in the highest position. So, choose what works best for you and sustain bridge. Observing the breath. As you're ready, inhale, tuck tailbone, roll up off your props. Hold as you gracefully release the blocks to sides. And then exhale, roll down, partial recline. Pause for the inhalation as you lengthen the spine. Exhale, knees to chest. Rocking gently side to side or small rolls, small circular movements with the knees as we did the other time. Back to center. Exhale, prep, hip side stretch. Arms out in T position, feet partial recline. Lengthen the left leg along the ground. The next exhale, as you're ready, hip side stretch, asana. Lift hips slightly, turn them. Bring the left side down, right above it. Knee to the left, rotate up through the spine to the right. Aim to have the shoulders grounded. enjoying the breath. The next exhale or so, slowly unwind back to the prep. Then inhale, partial recline. Left foot comes in to meet the right. Exhale, knees to chest. Knees come in, arms along the ground, to the sides, and then over the shins. The second side, the spinal rotation. When ready, exhale, prep. Arms in T, feet partial recline, lengthen the right leg on the ground. And as you're ready, exhale, hip side stretch, asana. So we've had a lot of spinal waves in this series, a lot of strengthening, flexion extension waves. And now spinal rotation. When we get to series 4, we'll have the palm tree, which is the lateral flexion, the sideward bending of the spine. So you're getting all the spinal movements. When you've balanced the sides, exhale to unwind back to the prep. And continue your flow to knees to chest. Exhale, partial recline. And as you come into reclined butterfly, be sure you feel the origin of the movement at the hips, the external rotation, abduction. If it's too much of a stretch, put a block under each thigh. Be sure your low back remains in natural alignment. If it doesn't, you may need something under your feet. You can try that, such as a block or a pillow. Be sure your neck is in natural alignment. Use a pillow if needed. We'll begin Yoga Nidra now. So reclined meditation after at least 5 breaths in reclined butterfly, you have the option to remain there or to transition to knees to chest and then to tranquility. So several rounds of complete victory breath and then transitioning to natural breath, sahaja, or yoga nidra, resting the eyes in Brahmadya mudra. And you can use either a mantra or observing the breath. If the mind wanders, just gently return it back to your focus without judgment. Even if it's again and again, gradually we gain more and more ability to maintain the focus. So enjoying Yoga Nidra now. I'll ring bells to end Yoga Nidra. Returning the breath to complete breath. Bringing conscious movements, awareness as you flow to knees to chest. Inhale, bring one arm overhead. Exhale, roll slowly to that side from the base up. Feel the stillness on your side. Letting the top foot, leg move down or behind. Inhale, press up, let the head hang down, relaxed. Quarter turn to a seated posture. Jai Gurudevi. So wonderful to be with you again.